Before we dive into today's story, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. What happened at the Silver Lake Mall food court on a busy Saturday afternoon would spark a conversation that would echo across social media and challenge deeply held prejudices about motherhood and public spaces. When a group of well-dressed shoppers decided to shame a young mother for breastfeeding her infant, they had no idea they were about to face off against Usha Vance, and the response that followed would leave them speechless. The autumn air was crisp that October morning as sunlight filtered through the mall's skylights, casting warm patches of light across the bustling food court. Weekend shoppers moved between tables with their trays, the familiar buzz of conversation and clinking, cutlery filling the air. Among them sat Maisie Carrick, a new mother cradling her fussy 3-month-old daughter, trying to find a moment of peace in her hectic day. The baby's quiet whimpers were beginning to escalate into hungry cries. At a nearby table, Celeste Hayes held court with her regular Saturday shopping group. Their designer bags rested on empty chairs as they sipped their artisanal coffees, their perfectly manicured nails tapping against ceramic mugs as they observed their surroundings with practiced disdain. The sound of a crying baby drew their attention, their expressions shifting from mild annoyance to visible disgust as Maisie discreetly began to breastfeed her child. What happened next would reveal how quickly public spaces can become battlegrounds for mothers simply trying to care for their children. Celeste's voice, deliberately pitched to carry, cut through the ambient noise. "Some people have no class," she announced to her companions. "There are restrooms for that sort of thing." Her friends nodded in agreement, their judgment radiating. Across the food court, like a cold wind, Maisie's cheeks flushed red as she heard the comments, but she continued feeding her baby, trying to maintain her composure even as tears threatened to spill from her eyes. Other diners began to take notice of the situation, some averting their eyes uncomfortably, others watching with growing concern. The tension in the air was palpable, the simple act of nurturing a child somehow transformed into a public spectacle. At that moment, Usha Vance was just entering the food court, her own toddler balanced on her hip. She had spent the morning at a community health meeting discussing maternal support programs for underprivileged neighborhoods. Her simple but elegant attire spoke of someone comfortable in both boardrooms and playgrounds, and her calm demeanor carried the weight of someone who had faced down bigger challenges than public disapproval. Celeste's group, emboldened by what they perceived as public support for their position, continued their commentary. "It's just attention-seeking behavior," one of them declared. "In my day, mothers knew how to be discreet." Another chimed in, "Someone should call security. There are children present." The irony of their concern for children while shaming a mother caring for one seemed lost on them. Usha's attention was drawn to Maisie, who was now trying to gather her things one-handed, her movements jerky with suppressed emotion as she attempted to escape the hostile environment while still feeding her hungry child. The young mother's distress was evident in every line of her body, her earlier composure crumbling under the weight of public censure. What happened next would demonstrate how a single voice of support can change the entire dynamic of a situation. As Celeste's group continued their commentary, growing louder and more insistent, Usha made her way through the food court. Her path seemed casual, unhurried, but there was purpose in every step. Those who noticed her approach could sense that something was about to shift. The morning light caught the tears now freely falling down Maisie's cheeks as she struggled with her bag, her baby still nursing. The sight seemed to trigger something in Celeste's group, who began to stand, as if their physical elevation might give them more authority over the situation. Their voices rose in a crescendo of self-righteous indignation, drawing even more attention to the scene they claimed to find so offensive, but they had badly misjudged the situation. What they didn't know was that Usha Vance wasn't just another shopper. Her years of advocacy for maternal health and women's rights had prepared her for moments exactly like this. As she approached Maisie's table, her presence seemed to fill more space than her physical form should allow, like a shield expanding to protect the vulnerable mother and child. The confrontation that was about to unfold would challenge not just the immediate situation, but the deeper prejudices that allowed such public shaming to occur in the first place. Usha's response would demonstrate that sometimes the most powerful weapon against bigotry is calm, informed authority. The next few minutes would transform a moment of shame into an opportunity for public education and community solidarity. Celeste and her friends were about to learn that their comfortable position of social superiority was built on increasingly shaky ground. The woman they were about to confront had spent years dismantling exactly the kind of prejudices they were displaying. Their assumptions about who held power in this situation were about to be dramatically reversed. As other shoppers paused their conversations to watch the unfolding scene, none of them could have predicted how this confrontation would end. The video that would later circulate on social media would capture not just a moment of conflict, but a turning point in how one community viewed the natural act of mothers caring for their children. The tears on Maisie's cheeks were still fresh as Usha reached her table, but the events that would follow would prove that sometimes public humiliation can become a catalyst for positive change. The food court of Silver Lake Mall was about to become ground zero for a conversation that needed to happen, not just in this community, but across the country. The sunlight streaming through the skylight seemed to brighten, as if nature itself was preparing to illuminate the truth that was about to be spoken. The stage was set for a confrontation that would demonstrate how courage and compassion could transform a moment of cruelty into an opportunity for growth and understanding. For anyone who has ever been shamed for meeting their child's needs in public, for every mother who has been made to feel less than human for the most human act of all, this story would become a beacon of hope. The events that were about to unfold would show that sometimes the most powerful response to prejudice is not anger, but educated, compassionate authority. Stay tuned for what happens next, as we see how Usha Vance's response would not only change the dynamic in that food court, but spark a movement that would ripple through social media and beyond. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss how this story unfolds. As tension filled the food court, Usha Vance's calm voice cut through the chaos like a beam of light through storm clouds. "Good morning," she said, her tone carrying the kind of authority that makes people instinctively pause and listen. "I couldn't help but overhear your concerns about public breastfeeding." The simple statement, delivered with professional composure, immediately shifted the dynamic of the confrontation. Celeste Hayes and her group, who had been so confident in their position moments before, found themselves facing someone who didn't fit their expected narrative. Usha's presence, professional, composed, and undeniably authoritative, created a moment of uncertainty in their ranks. The woman who had been so vocal about proper behavior now found herself hesitating, trying to read the situation. What Celeste's group didn't realize was that they had inadvertently stepped into territory that Usha Vance knew better than most. As a leading advocate for maternal health rights and a member of the state's Public Health Advisory Board, she had spent years fighting against exactly this kind of discrimination. But rather than leading with her credentials, she chose to educate with facts and empathy. "Did you know," Usha continued, her voice carrying just far enough to reach nearby tables without shouting, "that the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life?" She moved to stand protectively near Maisie, who was still cradling her nursing infant. They also specifically advocate for mothers to be supported in breastfeeding anywhere they have a legal right to be. Thea Whitaker, one of Celeste's friends, attempted to regain control of the narrative. "There are proper places for that sort of thing," she insisted, gesturing vaguely toward the restrooms. "It's about common decency." The words had barely left her mouth when Usha responded with a question that would stop her cold. "Would you eat your lunch in a public restroom?" The question hung in the air, causing several onlookers to nod in agreement. Usha continued, her tone remaining educational rather than confrontational. "A newborn needs to feed every 2 to 3 hours. That's 8 to 12 times a day. Imagine being told that every time you need to eat, you should hide in a bathroom." The simple logic of her statement made several of Celeste's supporters shift uncomfortably in their seats. But Celeste wasn't ready to back down. "It's different," she insisted, though her voice had lost some of its earlier conviction. "There are children present." It was exactly the opening Usha had been waiting for. "Yes, there are children present," she agreed, "and they're learning valuable lessons right now about how we treat mothers in our community." The crowd that had gathered was growing larger, and phones had started to appear, recording the interaction. Ursula Merrick, a teenage girl who had been watching from a nearby table, stood up and moved to stand beside Usha. "My mom breastfed my little brother," she announced. "There's nothing wrong with it." Her young voice, clear and unafraid, added another crack to Celeste's crumbling position. Usha seized the moment to broaden the conversation. "What we're really discussing here isn't just about breastfeeding. It's about how we support or shame mothers in public spaces. Every time we make a mother feel unwelcome for feeding her child, we're contributing to postpartum depression, decreased breastfeeding rates, and poorer health outcomes for both mothers and babies." The clinical facts, delivered with professional authority, were having their effect. Some of Celeste's friends were now looking embarrassed, their earlier righteousness fading in the face of clear, logical arguments. But Celeste made one last attempt to maintain her position. "If she had just covered up," she began, but Usha was ready for this argument too. "Some babies won't feed under covers," she explained, her voice taking on a gentle, teaching tone. "They get too hot. They pull them off, or they simply refuse to eat. Should a baby go hungry because some adults feel uncomfortable with the most natural act of nurturing?" The question wasn't just rhetorical. It was an invitation for everyone present to examine their own prejudices. Maisie, who had been quiet throughout the exchange, found her voice at last. "I tried using a cover," she said softly, her words carrying in the now attentive food court. "My daughter pulls it off and cries. I'm just trying to feed my baby." The simple honesty of her statement touched something in the crowd, and murmurs of support began to grow. Celeste's group was now facing not just Usha and Maisie, but an increasingly supportive audience. Georgia Wynne, another shopper who had been silently watching, approached with her own nursing infant. "Mind if I join you?" she asked Maisie, sitting down at her table in a clear show of solidarity. Other mothers began to emerge from the crowd, some with their own stories to share. The transformation of the food court was remarkable. What had started as an attempt to shame one mother had evolved into an impromptu community forum on maternal support. Usha guided the conversation skillfully, turning each attempt at criticism into an opportunity for education. "Did you know that in most states there are specific laws protecting a mother's right to breastfeed in any public space?" she asked, addressing the broader audience now. Celeste and her friends found themselves increasingly isolated as the mood of the crowd shifted. Their position, which had seemed so secure minutes ago, was crumbling in the face of fact-based arguments and growing community support. The phones recording the scene were capturing not just a confrontation, but a moment of social change. Usha's approach had been masterful. She hadn't just defended Maisie, she had created a teaching moment that would reach far beyond the food court. Her calm authority had transformed a potential scene of public humiliation into an opportunity for community education and support. The video that would later go viral would show not just the confrontation, but the power of informed advocacy to change hearts and minds. As the tension began to dissipate, Usha turned her attention fully to Maisie, speaking quietly with her and ensuring she felt supported. Other mothers joined their table, creating a spontaneous support group in the middle of the food court. The scene was powerful, women from different backgrounds coming together to support a mother's right to feed her child without shame. Quinn Avery, a nurse who happened to be present, added her professional perspective to the discussion. "The health benefits of breastfeeding are well documented," she stated clearly. "What's less discussed is how public shaming and lack of support can lead mothers to stop breastfeeding earlier than they intended or not try at all." The impact of the moment wasn't lost on the younger members of the audience. Several teenage girls who had been watching approached Usha to ask questions about maternal rights and advocacy. Their interest suggested that the ripple effects of this confrontation would extend far beyond this single incident. As the situation calmed, even some of Celeste's former supporters began to distance themselves from their earlier position. Romilly Hayes, who had been part of the critical group, approached Maisie to offer a quiet apology. "I never thought about it from that perspective," she admitted, her honesty adding another layer of transformation to the scene. The food court had become a temporary town hall with small groups discussing maternal rights, public health and community support. Usha moved between these conversations, adding information where needed, always maintaining her role as educator rather than antagonist. Her approach demonstrated that the most effective way to combat prejudice was through information and understanding. Rather than confrontation, the incident was already spreading beyond the mall's walls. Social media was lighting up with clips of the interaction, with Usha's calm, factual responses being praised as a masterclass in handling public confrontation. Her approach, educational rather than argumentative, supportive rather than combative, was being held up as an example of effective advocacy. As the crowd began to disperse, the lasting impact of the moment was evident. Conversations continued in small groups, with people sharing their own experiences and perspectives. The simple act of one woman standing up for another had sparked a broader discussion about how communities support their mothers and children. The story was far from over. The videos were already gaining traction online, and the conversation was about to go viral. But for now, in this food court, something fundamental had shifted. A moment of shame had been transformed into an opportunity for growth, understanding, and community building. Don't go anywhere. The next chapter will reveal how this incident sparked a movement that would reach far beyond Silver Lake Mall, changing policies and perspectives across the country. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on supporting mothers in public spaces, and make sure you're subscribed to see how this story continues to unfold. Within hours of the food court incident, cell phone videos began circulating on social media. The first clip, posted by Serena Banks, a college student who had captured the entire exchange, went viral almost immediately. "Watch how this woman perfectly handles breastfeeding shamers," the caption read, and within minutes the views started climbing exponentially. What caught people's attention wasn't just the confrontation itself, but the masterful way Usha Vance had handled it. Her calm, educational approach resonated with viewers, tired of seeing public conflicts devolve into shouting matches. Comments poured in from around the world, with many praising her ability to transform a moment of shame into an opportunity for public education. Kendall Rivers, A popular parenting blogger shared the video with her million followers, adding her own commentary. "This is how you advocate for mothers. No screaming, no drama, just facts, compassion, and unwavering support." The post quickly became her most shared content ever, with mothers around the globe sharing their own experiences of public breastfeeding shame. By evening, major news outlets had picked up the story. Daphne Blair, a veteran reporter for the local news station, arrived at Silver Lake Mall to interview witnesses. The resulting segment would capture not just the incident itself, but the broader conversation it had sparked about mothers' rights in public spaces. Security footage from the mall showing different angles of the interaction added new layers to the story. Meanwhile, Celeste Hayes and her group were experiencing the other side of viral fame. Their attempts to shame a nursing mother had backfired spectacularly, with social media users quick to identify and criticize their behavior. But what happened next would surprise everyone. Instead of doubling down or hiding from the controversy, some members of the group chose a different path. Lilith Monroe, who had been part of Celeste's group, posted a thoughtful apology video. "I was wrong," she admitted, her honesty striking a chord with viewers. "Watching the video of myself, seeing how we treated that young mother, it made me realize how our prejudices can hurt others." Her vulnerability in acknowledging her mistake added another dimension to the unfolding story. The incident had caught the attention of Phoebe Clark, a state legislator known for her advocacy of family-friendly policies. She reached out to Usha Vance, inviting her to speak at an upcoming committee hearing on public health initiatives. What had started as a mall confrontation was about to influence policy discussions at the state level. As the video continued to spread, different communities began adding their own perspectives. Winnie Drake, a lactation consultant with 20 years of experience, created a detailed response video explaining the science behind breastfeeding and the importance of community support. Her expert insight helped contextualize Usha's arguments. For a broader audience, the conversation wasn't limited to mothers and health professionals. Bridget Monroe, a sociologist specializing in public spaces and gender issues, published a viral thread analyzing how the incident reflected broader societal attitudes toward motherhood. Her academic perspective helped elevate the discussion. Beyond individual behavior to systemic issues, local businesses began to take notice. Magnolia Trent, owner of a popular downtown cafe, posted a sign explicitly welcoming breastfeeding mothers. Other establishments followed suit, leading to a spontaneous movement of businesses publicly declaring themselves nursing-friendly. The ripple effects of the food court confrontation were reshaping local commerce. Social media platforms were buzzing with hashtags like "I stand with mothers" and "nursing in public." Una Maddox, a graphic designer and mother of 3, created a powerful series of illustrations depicting mothers feeding their children throughout history, which quickly went viral. Her art helped visualize the universality and timelessness of the issue. The incident sparked creative responses from unexpected quarters. Vera Whitman, a high school teacher, used the video as part of a lesson on civil discourse and public health. Her students' thoughtful discussions about rights, respect, and public space demonstrated how the incident had become a powerful teaching tool. Mothers who had experienced similar shaming began sharing their stories. Willa Morgan's account of being forced to feed her infant in a dirty bathroom stall resonated with thousands. These personal narratives added emotional depth to the statistical and legal arguments Usha had presented. The viral spread of the incident caught the attention of Zandra Lowe, an executive at a major parenting products company. She reached out to both Usha and Maisie about participating in a national campaign promoting maternal support and education. The corporate world was beginning to see the value in aligning with this message of maternal empowerment. healthcare professionals joined the conversation with Yvette Moore, a pediatrician with a large social media following, creating an informative video series addressing common myths about public breastfeeding. Her medical expertise helped counter misconceptions that often fueled public shaming. The incident even influenced popular culture. Zoe Vaughan, a well-known mommy vlogger, incorporated clips from the mall confrontation into a powerful video about maternal rights and public support. Her millions of followers helped spread the message to new audiences. Local mother support groups reported a surge in attendance. Annalisa Frost, who ran a new mothers meetup, noted that women felt more empowered to feed their babies in public spaces. The incident had given them confidence to assert their rights and stand up to potential critics. The video's impact extended to professional training as well. Delilah Green, a corporate diversity consultant, began using the incident as a case study in her workshops about creating inclusive public spaces. The way Usha had handled the situation became a model for addressing discrimination with education rather than confrontation. Healthcare facilities took notice too. Estelle Vaughan, a hospital administrator, implemented new staff training protocols. Inspired by the incident, the focus was on supporting nursing mothers and creating more welcoming environments in medical settings. The story continued to evolve as more perspectives emerged. Fiona Hollis, an anthropologist, contributed an article examining how different cultures view public breastfeeding, adding valuable context to the ongoing discussion. Her global perspective helped readers understand how cultural attitudes shape maternal experiences. The incident's viral spread also sparked practical changes. Giselle Brooks, a mall management professional, began advocating for more comfortable nursing spaces in shopping centers nationwide. Her proposal for creating welcoming, non-bathroom spaces for nursing mothers gained significant traction in the retail industry. As the week progressed, the story took another turn when Hattie Quinn, a former critic of public breastfeeding, shared how the video had changed her perspective. Her journey from judgment to understanding resonated with many who had held similar prejudices, showing how minds could be changed through education and empathy. The digital impact continued to grow. Imogen Lee, a data analyst, created an interactive map showing breastfeeding-friendly locations in different cities. The project went viral, with mothers around the country contributing their own recommendations and experiences. What had started as a confrontation in a mall food court had become a catalyst for social change. Juliet Vance, a social media researcher, noted that the incident had all the elements needed for lasting impact: a clear message, a compelling protagonist, and an approach that educated rather than alienated. The story was far from over. As more people encountered the video and its message, new conversations and initiatives continued to emerge. Stay tuned for our final chapter, where we'll explore the long-term impact of this viral moment on policies, attitudes, and support for nursing mothers nationwide. Don't forget to share your own experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Have you witnessed or experienced similar situations? How do you think we can better support mothers in public spaces? Subscribe and hit that notification bell to catch the conclusion of this powerful story. 6 months after the Silver Lake Mall incident, the ripple effects of Usha Vance's intervention had transformed into waves of lasting change. The viral video, which had now been viewed over 50 million times, had become a catalyst for policy reforms, cultural shifts, and a nationwide conversation about supporting mothers in public spaces. The most immediate impact could be seen in Silver Lake Mall itself. Under the guidance of Nora Lennox, the mall's new community relations director, the shopping center had undergone a complete transformation in its approach to nursing mothers. The dingy nursing room tucked away near the restrooms had been replaced with multiple comfortable mothers' sanctuaries throughout the mall, each equipped with comfortable seating, changing facilities, and, most importantly, a sign making it clear that mothers were equally welcome to nurse anywhere in the mall. Celeste Hayes, whose attempt to shame a nursing mother had inadvertently sparked this movement, had undergone her own transformation. In a surprising turn of events, she had become an advocate for maternal rights. "My ignorance caused pain," she admitted in a widely shared interview. "But thanks to Usha's educational approach, rather than condemnation, I learned and grew." Her journey from antagonist to ally became a powerful testament to the effectiveness of education over confrontation. The impact on public policy was perhaps the most significant change. Odessa Blake, a state representative, had successfully championed the Mothers' Rights Protection Act, which strengthened legal protections for breastfeeding mothers and mandated sensitivity training for employees in public-facing roles. The bill, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, became known informally as the Vance Act, in honor of the woman whose composed advocacy had inspired it. Penelope Shaw, CEO of a major retail chain, implemented a comprehensive new policy across all their locations. The Silver Lake incident showed us that it's not enough to simply allow breastfeeding. We need to actively create environments where mothers feel supported, she explained. Her company's initiative, which included staff training and facility upgrades, became a model for other businesses nationwide. The healthcare sector saw significant changes as well. Quinn Avery, now heading a task force on maternal care, developed new guidelines for hospitals and medical facilities. These guidelines emphasize the importance of normalizing breastfeeding and providing support for nursing mothers, not just in maternity wards, but throughout healthcare facilities. The education system wasn't far behind. Romilly Hayes, a high school health teacher, developed a curriculum unit about maternal health and rights that was adopted by schools across the country. "We're teaching the next generation about respect, support, and the importance of understanding rather than judgment," she explained. The curriculum included the Silver Lake Mall video as a case study in effective advocacy and conflict resolution. The incident's impact extended to the corporate world in unexpected ways. Serena Banks, a workplace design consultant, saw a surge in companies requesting help creating mother-friendly spaces in their offices. "It's not just about compliance anymore," she noted. "Companies are realizing that supporting mothers is good for business, employee retention, and company culture." Social media platforms had evolved as well. Tamsin Clark, a content moderator for a major platform, helped develop new guidelines, specifically addressing the harassment of nursing mothers online. "The conversation Usha started helped us understand the importance of protecting maternal rights in digital spaces," she explained. The movement had also inspired a new generation of advocates. Ursula Merrick, the teenager who had stood up in support during the original incident, had started a youth advocacy group focused on maternal rights and public health education. Her organization, Young Advocates for Maternal Support, YAMS, had chapters opening in high schools across the country. The medical community embraced the momentum. Valerie Holt, a leading pediatrician, conducted a comprehensive study on the positive health outcomes associated with supportive breastfeeding environments. Her research provided scientific backing to what Usha had argued that day in the food court, that community support for nursing mothers had tangible health benefits for both mother and child. The incident had even influenced architecture and urban planning. Winnie Drake, an urban design specialist, developed new guidelines for creating nursing-friendly public spaces. Her recommendations were being implemented in everything from parks to airports, making public spaces more accessible and comfortable for nursing mothers. The legal profession saw changes too. Zena Blair, a civil rights attorney, established a legal aid network specifically focused on protecting maternal rights. The Silver Lake incident showed us that while laws protecting nursing mothers existed, many women didn't know their rights or have the resources to defend them, she explained. The impact on maternal mental health was particularly noteworthy. Zinnia Carr, a postpartum mental health specialist, reported a significant decrease in anxiety among nursing mothers in public spaces. When mothers feel supported by their community, it positively affects their mental health and their ability to care for their children, she noted. The movement had also sparked creative responses. Annalisa Frost, a documentary filmmaker, produced a powerful series exploring the history of public breastfeeding across different cultures and eras. Her work helped contextualize the current movement within a broader historical and cultural framework. The business community continued to evolve. Bridget Monroe, owner of a national restaurant chain, implemented a company-wide Mother's Welcome policy that became a standard in the food service industry. Her approach to staff training, using the Silver Lake incident as a teaching tool, was particularly effective in creating truly welcoming environments. The impact on social media influencers was significant. Celeste Hayes, who had created a platform focused on maternal support and education, found her message resonating with millions. Her transformation from critic to advocate proved particularly powerful in reaching those who might have shared her former prejudices. The academic world took notice as well. Delilah Green, a sociology professor, included the incident in her upcoming book about social movements in the digital age. Her analysis of how a single moment of advocacy could spark nationwide change provided valuable insights into modern social movements. Even the entertainment industry was influenced. Estelle Vaughan, a television producer, developed a series exploring various aspects of modern motherhood with the Silver Lake incident, featuring prominently in an episode about public support for mothers. The show helped bring these important conversations to an even wider audience. The incident's impact on male allies was particularly noteworthy. Fiona Hollis, a researcher studying gender dynamics, found a significant increase in men actively supporting nursing mothers in public spaces. The video helped men understand their role in creating supportive environments, she explained. 6 months after the incident, Maisie Carrick, the young mother whose experience had sparked this movement, reflected on the changes she'd witnessed. "I never expected my difficult moment to lead to such positive change," she shared. "Thanks to Usha's intervention, my daughter will grow up in a world more supportive of nursing mothers." As we conclude this story, it's clear that what happened at Silver Lake Mall was more than just a viral moment. It was the catalyst for lasting social change. Usha Vance's approach to advocacy, combining education with empathy, had created a template for effective social transformation. The lesson wasn't just about breastfeeding rights. It was about how education, compassion, and calm authority could transform prejudice into understanding. It showed that significant social change didn't always require loud confrontations or aggressive tactics. Sometimes, the most powerful advocacy came from a place of knowledge, empathy, and unwavering support. Have you noticed changes in how your community supports nursing mothers? Share your observations in the comments below. And remember, every one of us has the power to stand up for what's right, to educate rather than condemn, and to help create a more supportive world for all mothers. This story may have reached its conclusion, but its impact continues to grow. Thank you for joining us on this journey of transformation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message of hope and change.